Here's a YouTube video that gives a cute little reason why you need common denominators to add and subtract fractions for your viewing pleasure.
This lesson is all about why fractions have to have common denominators when you're adding or subtracting. Let's say you're going to add 3 dogs and 2 cats. What label would your answer have? You can't really say that you have 5 dogs. You couldn't say that you have 5 cats. So what label do you use? Well, you could say that it equals 5 animals, or that it equals 5 pets, or 5 mammals. You could even say that it equals 5 quadrupeds. Each of these labels here are common denominators. Animals is probably the one that we would use because it's the least specific. It's the lowest common denominator. Now, if you're going to add fractions instead of just animals, you can think of the denominators as different labels. For example, you could say that 3/4 is like adding 3 fish, and 1/6 is like adding 1 snake. Just like with the cats and the dogs, you have to have a common denominator. Now, before we go into why that is, we're going to have to play around with some pattern blocks, and we're going to name some fractions. So let's say that this funny little snowman shape is 1 whole. If I cover it with yellow pattern blocks, then each of those pattern blocks is 1/2. So a yellow is 1/2. It can be covered with 4 red trapezoids, so each of the trapezoids is 1/4. It takes 6 of these blue diamonds to cover the shape, so each one of the blue ones is 1/6. And finally, we can cover that shape with 12 of these green ones, so each green triangle is 1/12. So we can think of each of these pattern blocks as a different animal in a sense. So here we have the fraction again, the 3/4 plus 1/6. Let's take a look at it with the pattern blocks. 3/4 looks like this, plus 1/6 looks like this. We have to figure out what our answer, what label it would have. What do 4ths and 6ths have in common? Now, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that what they have in common is 12ths. We're going to see why, and then there's another video that will explain how you figure it out when you're just dealing with numbers and not with pieces. So what does it mean when I say that 4ths and 6ths have 12ths in common? Let's take a look. Do you see how the green triangles very nicely cover up the red trapezoids? It also works with the blue diamonds. So we say that 12ths is a common denominator. Now, when we say that we've got 12ths as a common denominator, that changes the way our addition problem looks. It's no longer 3/4 plus 1/6, it becomes 12ths as the denominator. However, we have to get different numerators. So let's see how we do that. There were 3 red trapezoids, and each one is covered with 3 green triangles, for a total of 9. So that 9, the 3/4 becomes 9/12. There was 1 blue diamond covered with 2 green triangles. That equals 2. So the 1/6 becomes 2/12. I always tell my students that they should write their addition problems with fractions vertically. Now, remember, adding red and blue is like adding cats and dogs. Got to get the common denominator. Here's how you're going to get your new numerator. Do you remember how many triangles covered the trapezoids? There was 3 on each one, so 3 times 3 was 9. And on the blue diamond, there were 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Add the numerators, keep the denominator the same. 9 plus 2 is 11, so the answer is 11/12. Perfect. This video is just a short explanation of why a common denominator is needed when you're adding fractions. For a step-by-step instruction video on how to get a common denominator, click on the